The bathroom cabinet was open when I came home from work. I knew immediately something was wrong. I always kept it closed, always kept my medication bottles lined up precisely on the second shelf, where I could see them every morning and night. My sister Valerie stood in the hallway holding one of the bottles, reading the label with that expression of disgust she perfected over the 6 months I'd been living with her. $3,700, she said, for 1 month of pills. This is what you spend my rent money on? That's my medication. It's covered by insurance, and I pay you rent. $500 a month doesn't cover the emotional drain of living with someone who's constantly sick. You know what I think these are? She shook the bottle. I think they're props. I think you like being dramatic, like you enjoy being the sick one who needs special treatment. I was 26 years old and HIV positive. I had been for 3 years, since a blood transfusion after a car accident. The antiretroviral medication kept my viral load undetectable, kept me healthy, kept me alive. Missing even a few doses could trigger resistance, could make the virus untreatable. Valerie, please put those back. I'm tired of it. Tired of you taking up space in my apartment. Tired of your pill bottles everywhere. Tired of you using your health as an excuse for everything. You're an attention seeker and I'm done enabling it. She walked into the bathroom. I followed, my heart already racing because I knew what was coming, knew it from the set of her shoulders, from the way she'd been building to this for weeks. She opened the toilet lid and dumped the first bottle. Orange pills tumbled into the water. Stop. I reached for her arm, but she shoved me back. The second bottle followed, then the third. All 3 of my medications, 60 days worth, because I just picked up my refill. $3,700 of medication, and more importantly, 60 days of staying healthy, swirling in toilet water. She flushed twice. The pills disappeared. Get out, she said. Get out of my apartment. Pack your things and get out. I'm done with you. Done with your fake illness and your attention-seeking and your drama. Valerie, those were my medications. I need those to live. Then I'm sure you'll find a very dramatic way to get more. But you're not doing it from my apartment. Get out, you attention seeker. I packed what I could fit into 2 suitcases, my clothes, my laptop, the few things that mattered. The medication bottles, now empty, I left on her bathroom counter. Evidence of what she'd done, though I knew she'd just throw them away. I had $400 in my checking account. No family besides Valerie, who was changing the locks behind me. No apartment of my own. No backup plan. I called my caseworker from the clinic where I received treatment. She helped me access emergency housing and put me on a waiting list for a patient assistance program to replace the destroyed medications. The emergency room gave me a 2-week supply after I explained what happened, but I had to pay $300 I didn't have, put it on a credit card that was already close to maxed out. I stayed at a friend's apartment for 2 weeks, then on a friend of a friend's couch for a month, then in a room in a house with 5 other people, sharing one bathroom, paying week to week because I couldn't afford a security deposit. The patient assistance program finally came through. My medications were covered. My viral load stayed undetectable. But I was essentially homeless, bouncing between temporary situations, never more than 1 missed paycheck away from sleeping in my car. I was at my lowest point when I met Daniel. He managed a property management company and needed someone to handle tenant communications and maintenance coordination. The pay was decent. More importantly, it came with a small studio apartment as part of the compensation package. I learned property management from the ground up. Learned about rental laws, tenant rights, maintenance costs, and profit margins. Learned that real estate could build wealth if you were smart, patient, and willing to work harder than anyone else. Daniel noticed I was good at it, better than good. I could read a property and see its potential, calculate renovation costs and rental income in my head, negotiate with contractors, and keep tenants happy. You should buy something, he said one day 18 months after I'd started. Fix it up, rent it out. Start building equity instead of just managing other people's. I had saved $11,000. It wasn't much, but there were programs for first-time buyers, small down payment loans. I found a foreclosed duplex in a neighborhood that was just starting to turn around. Bought it for $90,000, put $5,000 down, and spent 4 months renovating it myself on nights and weekends. I rented both units for $1,400 a month each. After the mortgage and expenses, I cleared $800 monthly. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I bought a second property 8 months later, then a third. Learned to leverage equity, refinance, reinvest. Worked 70-hour weeks managing properties and finding new investments. Lived in cheap studio apartments, drove a 15-year-old car, and put every spare dollar into real estate. I never contacted Valerie, never reached out to explain that I'd survived, that I was building something. She'd made her position clear. I was a dramatic attention seeker whose medical needs were an inconvenience. Nothing I could say would change that view. 4 years after she'd flushed my medication and evicted me, I owned 17 rental properties totaling 62 units. My net worth was approaching $2 million. I'd gone from homeless to financially secure through obsessive focus and strategic investment. The opportunity came through Daniel's network, a 30-unit apartment complex in a good neighborhood, owner retiring, motivated to sell quickly. $3.2 million. I could swing it with my portfolio as collateral and 2 investor partners taking minority stakes. I walked through the property with my real estate agent, assessing needed updates and calculating numbers. Good bones, solid tenant base, room to increase rents modestly after renovations. It would be my largest purchase, my move into commercial property ownership. Current rent roll is strong, my agent said, showing me the spreadsheet. 95% occupancy, most tenants long-term. I was scanning the tenant list when I saw it. Unit 2C, Valerie Morrison. Lease start date, 7 years ago. Monthly rent, $1,600. My sister lived here, in the building I was about to buy. Give me a minute, I told my agent. I pulled up the full tenant file on my phone. Payment history showed consistent on-time payments for years. Then 2 months ago, the pattern broke. 1 late payment with fees. This month, nothing yet. 15 days overdue. The purchase closed 30 days later. I became the owner of 30 units, including the one where my sister lived and was currently behind on rent. I didn't handle tenant relations directly. I had a property management company for that. But as owner, I reviewed all financial reports, including delinquencies requiring attention. Valerie's account showed 2 months of missed rent, $3,200 plus late fees. The property manager had sent standard notices. The next step was formal eviction proceedings. I could have let the process continue automatically, could have stayed invisible behind the corporate ownership structure, letting Valerie get evicted without ever knowing who owned the building. Instead, I scheduled a meeting. The property management office was in the complex's main building. Valerie arrived 10 minutes late, looking harried and defensive. She didn't recognize me at first. I'd changed in 5 years, cut my hair differently, gained healthy weight, wore professional clothes instead of the worn-out jeans and t-shirts from when I'd lived with her. Ms. Morrison, thank you for coming in. I'm Alex Torres, the new property owner. Recognition dawned slowly. She stared at me, her mouth slightly open, processing the impossibility of what she was seeing. Alex? I purchased this property 6 weeks ago. I'm reviewing all tenant accounts personally. Yours requires immediate attention. You own this building. I own 12 buildings. This is one of them. You're 2 months behind on rent, $3,200 plus $400 in late fees. I've been having financial problems. My hours got cut at work. I just need a little more time. According to your lease, rent is due on the 1st of each month. You've violated that agreement twice consecutively. Standard procedure is eviction proceedings. You can't evict me. I've lived here 7 years. Which is why I'm meeting with you personally instead of having my attorney file paperwork. But I need to understand your payment plan. When can you bring your account current? She looked around the office, at the professional space, the computer showing spreadsheets of properties and finances. Looked at me in my business clothes, sitting on the other side of the desk with a tablet showing her account status. What happened to you? She asked. I survived, built a career in property management, started investing in real estate, worked 7 days a week for 5 years. Bought my first property 18 months after you threw away my medication and evicted me. I didn't evict you. You flushed 3 bottles of antiretroviral medication down the toilet and told me to get out of your apartment. What would you call that? I was frustrated. You were always sick, always needing something. I had HIV. I needed medication to stay alive. You called me an attention seeker and destroyed 60 days worth of pills. Do you know what happened after I left? She didn't answer. I stayed on a friend's couch for 2 weeks until she got tired of me. Then I paid $50 a week for a room in a house with 5 strangers. I ate ramen for months because I couldn't afford both food and medication. I worked 12-hour shifts managing properties and spent my free time learning everything I could about real estate investment. I didn't know things were that bad for you. You didn't care. You decided I was dramatic and attention-seeking, and that was enough justification to destroy medicine that cost $3,700 and kept me alive. So this is revenge? You're going to evict me because of something that happened 5 years ago? I'm going to evict you if you can't bring your rent current within 30 days. That's standard landlord procedure for any tenant. You're not special. I need more time. I'm looking for a new job. I just need 60 days. Your lease doesn't give you 60 days. Your lease requires monthly payment. You've already missed 2 months. Please, Alex, I'm your sister. The word hung between us, sister. The person who was supposed to care about you, support you, not destroy your medication out of spite. You stopped being my sister when you flushed my pills and kicked me out. What we are now is landlord and tenant, and you're a tenant in default. I'll get the money, I promise. I looked at her account on my tablet, looked at 5 years of payment history showing a reliable tenant who'd fallen on hard times, looked at my sister, who'd once thought my medical needs were attention-seeking drama. 30 days, I said. You have 30 days to pay the full amount owed or establish a documented payment plan with verification of employment. After 30 days, if your account isn't current or you don't have an approved payment plan, I file for eviction. That's my final offer. 30 days? That's impossible. 5 years ago, you gave me about 30 minutes to pack my life and leave. 30 days seems generous by comparison. I said I'm sorry. No, you didn't. You said you didn't know things were bad for me. That's not an apology. That's an excuse. She stared at me, tears forming in her eyes. What do you want from me? Rent, that's all. This is a business relationship. You live in a unit I own. You pay rent per the lease agreement you signed. If you can't meet those terms, you'll need to find housing elsewhere. I can't afford to move. First and last month's rent somewhere else, security deposit, moving costs. I can't do it. Then figure out how to pay what you owe here. I stood up, signaling the meeting was over. Valerie sat for a moment longer, looking lost, looking like I probably looked 5 years ago when I realized I had nowhere to go. I really am sorry, she said quietly. I was wrong about your medication, about calling you attention-seeking. I was angry about my own life, and I took it out on you. Thank you for saying that, but it doesn't change the rent you owe. She left without another word. I watched her walk across the parking lot to her unit, shoulders hunched, defeated. My property manager knocked on the office door. How did it go? Standard 30-day payment arrangement. If she doesn't comply, file eviction paperwork on day 31. You know her personally? She's my sister. She kicked me out of her apartment 5 years ago after destroying my HIV medication. Told me I was an attention seeker. The property manager's eyes widened. And now you own her building. Now I own her building. Are you going to evict her? I'm going to enforce the lease terms. If she pays, she stays. If she doesn't, she goes. Same as any other tenant. Valerie paid. She got a second job, worked doubles, and brought her account current with 3 days to spare. She's stayed current ever since. I see her name on the monthly rent roll, Unit 2C, payment received on time. We've never spoken again after that meeting. She pays rent to my property management company. I own the building she lives in. That's the extent of our relationship. Sometimes I drive by the complex and think about the trajectory from her bathroom floor, picking up pill bottles she'd emptied into the toilet, to the office where I reviewed her delinquent account as her landlord. 5 years from homeless to property owner, from attention seeker to the person who decides if you keep your housing. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for survival, for security, for the certainty that I'd never again be vulnerable to someone deciding my medical needs were dramatic. But there's a particular satisfaction in knowing that the sister who once controlled whether I had a place to live now depends on me for the same thing. She thought I was seeking attention when I needed medication to survive. Now I'm the one deciding if she survives the rental market. Not revenge, just business. And the rent is due on the 1st of every month.